Welcome to a quick overview of Foodworks Online Nutrition Labeling. In this video, I will run through the basics of nutrition labeling to help you get started. I will cover the Workspace dashboard, followed by instructions to create a new workspace and how to modify the settings of a workspace. I will then show you how to create a resource and briefly touch on the tools section. Let's get started. When you log in, you will be presented with your Workspace dashboard, which displays all of the workspaces you have access to. You can think of a workspace as being a folder to store your data such as raw materials, recipes, and sub-recipes. To create a new workspace, click the Create Workspace button in the top right corner of the Workspace dashboard screen, and then choose your new workspace name and color. I'll write in Example Workspace and make it blue. If you select the Favorite option, your workspace will be displayed in the Favorited Workspaces section of your Workspace dashboard, as well as in the Workspaces table. If you do not select the Favorite option, it will only be displayed in your Workspaces table. If it is a workspace you will be accessing very frequently, I would suggest making it a favorite so it is easily accessible, which I will do now. You can then select either Australia or New Zealand from the country drop-down, which determines the data sources, measurements, nutrients, and components that are enabled by default. After setting up your workspace, click Create, and you will be placed in your new Workspace Settings section. On the General tab of your Workspace settings, you can change the name and color of your workspace and add a description if you like. If you are in a Foodworks Online organization with more than one user, you can share your workspaces with other users by clicking the Manage Access icon. When you share a workspace, that other user will see the workspace when they log in on their Workspace dashboard. You can use this function to collaborate on resources such as raw materials and recipes. On the Nutrients and Components tab, you can enable and disable nutrients for your workspace after clicking the Unlock toggle. Keep in mind that changing the enabled nutrients will affect all of the resources in your workspace and may result in changes to nutrient calculations. On the Reference Measures tab, you can edit the type of reference measures for your workspace after clicking the Unlock toggle. By default, metric reference measures are enabled. On the Data Sources tab, you can enable and disable the data sources for your workspace. This tab will be irrelevant if you source all of the nutrient values for your raw materials from a product specification sheet, which is the recommended method of creating your raw materials. However, if you do need to use reference foods, this is the tab where you can modify the data sources to access in the workspace. On this tab, you can also read details about each data source by clicking the expander arrow. If you need to access the reference foods in your recipes, you can select the sub-recipe and recipe boxes under Allow Use of Reference Data In. Note that if you use this option, you cannot generate a full label, as you will not be able to generate an ingredient statement because the reference foods do not have declaration names. This is not the recommended method of generating labels in Foodworks Online, and instead we suggest creating raw materials for each ingredient you need to use in a recipe. Now that we have discussed the workspace settings, let's move on to the navigation pane, which is on the left-hand side of your screen. The navigation pane will display all of your resources that you have created in your workspace after you start creating them. In this workspace, there are no resources yet, so let's create one. To create a resource, select the Create New Resource button and then choose Raw Material, Sub-Recipe or Recipe from the drop-down. I will select Raw Material from the drop-down and call it Example Ingredient. You can see that the raw material has now appeared in the navigation pane. Note that when you create a resource, it is automatically saved as a draft version, which is indicated by the circle next to the resource icon in the navigation pane. Once you have created a resource, you can either navigate away and it will remain as a draft, finalize the resource by selecting Publish, or delete the unpublished resource if you no longer want this resource in your workspace. We will go over creating raw materials, sub-recipes, and recipes in more depth in other videos. Now let's move on to the Tools section. In this section, there are two tabs. The first is the Export tab, where you can export your labeling information, which can then be used by your label publishing software to create nutrition labels using the Foodworks analyses. The second tab is the Files tab, which you can use to download your exported data on the Label Data tab, or your health star rating and country of origin labeling assets in a zip file on the Assets tab. A more in-depth tutorial of using these functions will be covered in another video. Now, I can go back to the Workspace settings section by selecting this in the side navigation bar, and back to the Workspace's dashboard by clicking the Foodworks Online logo at the top left of the screen, or by clicking the Back to Workspace dashboard icon on the navigation pane. Here you can see that my workspace is now stored in my Workspaces table, and because I selected Favorite upon creating it, it is also available in the Favorited Workspaces section. I can then refer back to all of my work by opening up that workspace. I will finish this video by quickly mentioning that activity logs are available on your Workspace dashboard, which displays changes to all of the workspaces you have access to in your organization and can be opened and closed by clicking the expander arrow. There is also an activity log for each individual workspace in the Workspace settings section, which displays changes that have occurred in the open workspace, and also for each individual resource on the General tab, which displays changes that have occurred within that open resource. These activity logs can be helpful for keeping track of changes that occur within your resources and workspaces. This brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helps get you started with Foodworks Online Nutrition Labeling. To access more video resources, please click the thumbnail on this screen.